the first game here. So let's head over to the in-game scene. Alright, welcome to game number 1 here between ZertoN and SortOf. Spawning in here on the right-hand side of the map in the blue. It's ZertoN playing as the French.
And we have on the western side in the color red, playing as the Ottoman Empire. It is sort of going for that cheeky military school in the beginning. And you got to think MrMerlin spears coming out of that military school, pretty good against the French, especially in Dark Age.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely worth building a military school here as you're playing as the Ottomans. I mean, you can always get off some good harassment here as well in the early stages of the game. Obviously, the French love to move out. You know, mills that cost half the price, so they're going to be looking to make use of these shoreline fish. You know, if a spearman comes around here, you can pick off some, pick up a little bit of health, maybe some idle time on those villagers as well. So, you know, Ottomans here is a matchup that I like up against the French, and that's just because of this early spears, the military schools. You know, it feels really nice for them.
Yeah, and I think one of the main reasons is the one way that French really likes to get their games, and the analogy that I use when I'm talking about French is packing snow. So in Feudal Age, they really want to pack their snow. They want to get their couple knights. They want to start that snowball from maybe they pick off a couple villagers, they get more knights, they get more archers. All of a sudden, you have a French avalanche coming at you from late Feudal to early Castle Age. Ottomans kind of do that a little bit better, you know, just because of the way that they can use their military schools for free military. They use their blacksmiths to increase production. It just seems they're able to pack their snow a little bit better than the French does. So we usually see Ottomans kind of take an upper hand in Feudal Age, but we can see how ZertoN decides to play it as the French. Maybe he has a different strategy this time.
Maybe we see a Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, don't.
Maybe it's a little bit ambitious, but you know, if there's ever a map to do it, I feel like this has got to be one of the best maps for it. You know, you got a lovely trade post here in the corner. It's a very easy map to wall off. But then again, you know, the School of Cavalry is such a good landmark, right?
I mean, it's plausible, but now it's impossible. It just goes down.
He can still cancel it. He can still cancel it. I have hope.
Okay, dude. I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you. But I mean, going back to the Chamber of Commerce idea, like, I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard. You know, it's not a mind work. You know, it still has some value. And if you're trying to, even as the French, if you want to avoid going for a second town center, trade can certainly act like a second town center. So if you wanted to choose that route, Ottomans, they just do really well in terms of their raid potential and the Sipahi that they're able to make. It would be difficult. That trade route would just get harassed constantly.
True, yeah. I mean, Sipahi with the combination with the meta, with that extra plus 15% movement speed, it makes it really easy for the Ottomans to harass trade lines. But as we do see here, we got a twin minaret madrasa coming down from SortOf, so not going to be going for any Sultani trade network, which, to be fair, Sultani trade network is actually kind of popping off at the moment. Like, we've been seeing it a lot. And basically, we've been seeing fast castle builds with it, where players look to make use of the landmark for the gold trickle, rather than actually, you know, getting out the traders and doing trade with it. They look to just, you know, use the Sultani trade network, but that's not going to be the case here for SortOf. He's just going to be going up with the twin minaret madrasa.
Yeah, and I think the twin minaret's probably the best idea, as we can zoom in and see that spearman being a little bit unhappy with some of those peasants. They're getting a little annoyed pulling their shivs out, but for the twin minaret, just getting that nice little food supply there in an area where French can't necessarily raid you really makes a difference when you're trying to outproduce them.
Yeah, exactly. And ZertoN here, he's going to have to pull back. I think he's got enough gold, which he's got 100 gold there in the bank. It's going to be enough for another knight there if he so wishes. But it looks like the spearmen, they've done their job. A little bit of damage has been put onto one of them. But I mean, they cause some idle time. You know, some damage put onto the villagers there. So always nice for him. You know, he hasn't exactly lost a lot from this. But ZertoN's going to be moving out now with that knight, trying to find some raids over here. Sort of yet to actually age up. So this knight is coming through really nice and early here for ZertoN. Going to be dropping down a barracks as well in the Dark Age here. Going to be looking to grab that hardened upgrade as soon as he possibly can.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good time to take a look at the spawn as that knight starts coming in. A couple spearmen going to be able to chase it, but some of these, this gold, this stone, definitely raidable. You can see that knight killing that one peasant economically for ZertoN, just that little bit higher. French starting to pack that snow up, Merlin.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is something that's been changed. I think it was in Season 4, where knights, they had a little bug fixed about them where they can two-hit villagers in the Feudal Age without the Bloomery upgrade, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. We see there, ZertoN actually picks off another villager. So, you know, already great value here for ZertoN. And you got to remember, he's got the little passive increased town center speed production. So we see he's already ahead by 4 villagers here.
Yeah, and that little bit of a difference obviously helps them more in a passive sense for villagers. Instead of 20 seconds now in Feudal Age, if I remember correctly, they're going to be 17 seconds. So over the period of time, he's going to get a couple more villagers out, and obviously from these night raids, he's going to be able to get a couple villagers. Starting to add archers in, as you can see from the army composition in the top. One archer going to be coming in taking shots at spearmen. That means these spearmen might not be as ballsy as they were.
We do have some Spahi coming out now for SortOf. It seems like the first Vizier point has been used on Anatolian hills, so not going to be going for the meta first, which is an interesting choice, especially as you have aged up with the Twin Minaret Madrasa. It's not like you're exactly struggling too much on food at the moment, but I guess you do also get the extra mining speed, right? So maybe that's his thought process there. Nice archer pickup. Okay, and then he proceeds to throw it away. Oh man, that feels bad.
I wouldn't necessarily trade a Sipahi for an archer, because again, like both of these civs, they're trying to get as much army on the field as possible, right? So an archer obviously costing substantially less than Sipahi, so you got to make sure that you're really efficient with your army trades. You can see army value for ZertoN just a little bit higher at 790 to 550, and you can expect that as the French with a couple knights, but it's all about keeping those knights alive for that big battle in that late feudal, early castle, when if you lose a couple knights and you take that battle, you're going to think, man, you know, I would really love just a couple more knights in this battle. So having these stay alive that ZertoN's doing, his micro is absolutely impressive, as all of these players are in the Elite Classic, doing a good job. Again, he's packing that snow up.
As you see, ZertoN now going to be dropping down his second town center here. Still looking to make use of all of these ponds. Which, I mean, SortOf on the other side, I mean, he's playing it very condensed here. He's just sitting here on the Twin Minaret Madrasa. You know, calling in Anatolian hills as well for the sheep. So just looking to stay in the base here on 1 TC. Whereas ZertoN, you know, he's really looking to expand out to the map. And I gotta say, ZertoN's looking in a really, really nice position right now. But SortOf, he's looking to really mass up here, as we see 2 military schools are down, double stable, and a barracks. Interestingly, no archery ranges down yet, though.
Yeah, it's kind of nice for Ottomans just because your military production buildings don't cost as much wood. You're able to get more of them out. So usually for Ottomans, we see a 1-1-1 kind of thing. We see all rock, paper, and scissors. And I'm thinking SortOf, if he does see the second town center, which I believe he did with his scout and 2 Sipahi there, it's probably going to be his plan of attack for the foreseeable future.
We should see ZertoN over here. Doesn't have exactly much vision. I guess he does have some vision. You still need to be careful of these villagers up here, though, on the shoreline fish. No textiles is in, so... I mean, SortOf could have maybe picked off a villager or 2 here with a Spahi.
Another Sipahi ends up going down, but you got to think, I mean, the French are obviously on 2 town centers. The Ottomans just have 1. If you have less town centers than your opponent, you start to put yourself on a little bit of a clock. You're thinking, well, their eco can get absolutely out of control. 10 minutes later, they have an army that you can't deal with. So it feels like for the Ottomans, even though they get a little bit of free military production, the villager count does make a difference, especially with the French. So for SortOf, it feels like at this stage of the game, it's kind of put up or shut up time. He's got to do something.
Yeah, now ZertoN, he has Chivalry through, going to be starting to heal up the knights. He's starting to actually add in a couple more now, as we see a third one and a fourth one now in the queue. So, no, he's really looking to up the mass now with more spears, more archers, and more knights. And sort of, at the moment, he's got to be scratching his head. He hasn't exactly found much value here with the Spahi mass, with any raids. Whereas ZertoN on the other side, you know, he's already picked up a couple villagers here. We see 2 worker kills. There we go, sort of actually able to pick off a couple villagers here. And in fact, he's going for the villagers that he hurt earlier on with the spears. So really smart move there. He knew exactly where they were. And he may... Okay, just going to be running straight past there.
The micro's absolutely insane. From sort of he with this Sapahi, and I know all of these players have impressive micro, but it's something just to marvel at just a little bit, because he's using his Sapahi, he's going around the other side of the base, making sure not getting hit, and also finding those small villagers over there. Obviously, as much as I talk about micro, you can't save them all once Sapahi ends up going down, but he does a good job just kind of keeping himself in the game, keeping his military alive.
Yeah, exactly. And now we do actually see SortOf's army value is starting to climb above ZertoN's. And that is down to, military schools here giving out the free units. And we actually have some upgrades coming through. So SortOf definitely here playing an all-in H2 approach. So ZertoN, I feel like he's got to be feeling pretty happy about this. He's not too far behind in army value. And he's significantly ahead when it comes to the economy. We see already up there by 13 workers. We see him he just picked off another one. May even get another one here. Looks like he is going to be running away from that one. May get cornered here.
We'll save that one knight on the pathing there. You see it was about to go south a little bit, but now they might meet their unfortunate demise. One knight ends up going down, the other one ends up getting saved. So, well, if the Sapahi don't track him down eventually and follow them to the ends of the earth, he might actually survive. But again, for the SortOf, I really like the idea of archery ranges. ZertoN had to add some barracks just because of how many Sapahi was there. And now we see army compositions from both players develop pretty much entirely, adding all different different pieces that you can add. Now it's just about butting them against each other, and I think we're going to see that pretty soon.
I gotta say, I love the fact that SortOf here is adding in multiple metas. It's something I don't see a lot of players do that often. They usually just, they get the one from the Vizier point, and then that's it. That's all they have. And then, your opponent micros it down and takes it out, and that's it. You've got all of these, that's no more plus 15% attack speed. That's no plus 15 movement speed. So I really like the fact he's adding in multiple metas here. Really smart move. It looks like a couple workers will get taken out here, but Spears able to find a little bit of value there, taking out a single Spahi.
Yeah, I really like what you said about the meta, too, because obviously these guys, they're at the top of their game, the upper echelon of AoE 4. They know to pick off these metas, so if you only have one in there and they end up going down, all of that advantage that you have is pretty much gone, so it's nice adding a couple more.
Yeah, precisely, and SortOf needs to be careful here. Doesn't want to throw away army. This is something you really don't want to be doing with the Ottomans at this stage of the game. You can't be throwing away army willy-nilly. It's not as a big deal for ZertoN here because, he's got a much bigger army. He just needs to try and hold on, wait it out for as long as possible. Just try and survive this all-in push here from SortOf. As we see, he is now going to be dropping down that first battering ram. I'm sure we'll be seeing many more on the way. Which you see Spears getting taken out here by the knight. Perfect micro coming out from ZertoN right there. Able to save it. Chivalry will do its job and heal that one back up.
It's just how much value you save on Chivalry that makes it so good, too. That Royal Knight probably in about a minute or so will be able to get back to normal. And you hit the nail exactly on the head when you were talking about SortOf trying to take ZertoN to Ram Ranch. It's all about holding. If he can hold this, he's going to be just fine. But this is going to be the pivotal moment in the battle. We'll see how much damage those rams can do and how much SortOf's military can. You look at the military count, it's 58 to 41. He has an advantage if he takes it straight up.
Yeah, exactly. And we take a look at the army value as well. It's not like he's got a, cheap army. He's got a very good massive Spahi right here. So SortOf going to be targeting down the second TC here. We do have an outpost here. Villagers going to get pulled. Textiles is in for ZertoN. His army's out of position, though. Going to be losing just a couple workers. Not the biggest of deals, and we actually have a ram being built on the front line here. We see knights going to be picking off reinforcements as the main army going to be focusing down the rams. Both rams going to get taken out. Looks like one of them is able to survive as a Spahi coming in from behind. Needs to be careful not to engage onto this spearman mass.
The beautiful Sipahi flank over there in the north. It ended up not paying off, but those Rams getting torches again. Merlin, I think this Ram's going down. Ram
does get taken out, so ZertoN going to be retreating back into the TC. Spears up against spears. Archers going to be focusing down the spy here. We just see the metas here not getting targeted down, and that's really what you want for SortOf. You know, he's got 3 of them in here, giving the perfect boost here. Has he got it set to... He has. This is so smart out of SortOf. Has it set to range defense drums. It means 1 less damage is being put on from the arrows here. And ZertoN's got a huge mass of archers here. You know, not a lot of damage is coming through from these archers here. And we just see the amount of damage SortOf is able to do here. TC may be taken out here, down to 100 HP. Worker's going to get taken out. TC goes down. This is exactly what SortOf needs right here. And we see army value for ZertoN has slightly creeped ahead now. But I mean, so much value bought right there for SortOf.
Yeah, and getting that second town center, just like you said, I mean, it was the plan of attack, and it stops the bleeding, usually what I say. So for the economic count, yeah, ZertoN's going to have that little bit of advantage, but it's not going to get crazy out of whack.
Yeah, and now at this point in the game, SortOf's got to be feeling pretty happy to just remass again and just go in for round number 2, right? And you got military schools as well here. Just, you know, you always got to keep in mind the military schools. Like, sure, SortOf's behind in economy slightly, but then you've got, you know, these are going to be making up for it slightly, and SortOf still has a really decent mass at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, for how many units actually went down, you can see how much value they have just because of that meta, adding the attack speed and the little bit of range defense also, just keeping them alive. So he's able to hold this counter push by ZertoN, and he does have defender's advantage with all of his production buildings right there. We're going to see a military count that's pretty much even. It's only going to get better for the Ottoman Empire. Now it's SortOf's turn to hold, it looks like.
ZertoN doesn't have too many knights here. He's only got the 6. And SortOf, you know, he's got 8 spears in here. Maybe ZertoN could look to try and micro down those spears. But I don't think the knights are the biggest of issues here for SortOf. We don't have any rams coming through for ZertoN yet anyway. And the metas in here are going to, you know, I feel like metas are really the game changer here for the Ottomans. We can just see they're able to hold on here really, really easily, taking out a huge number of ZertoN's army. We see there the army value for SortOf starting to now catch back up. And ZertoN, it looks like he's on the retreat.
Yeah, nothing's more powerful than the sound of music that we're seeing here. A little bit of that range defense. It just means your archers are better. Whether you did movement speed, whether you did range defense, both of them obviously have their pros and cons. But because he's up against a mostly archer army from the French, not something I expected to say in this cast, but now that it's predominantly an archer army, range defense is going to give you the ultimate value. Make ZertoN back all the way up. That counter push event, it just basically fizzled out into nothing, and now SortOf's going to be able to stabilize his economy back home.
SortOf needs to be careful not to lose the meta. If the meta goes down, this could be terrible for him, as knights are going to be coming in from behind. Not that many spears, only 8 spears here for SortOf. Where are the metas? They've disappeared. ZertoN going to be starting to focus down the spears. Looks like it's going to be taking out the spy here first. I feel like this is a great fight here for ZertoN. We see lots of archers here, low on HP. ZertoN just going to be kiting back, taking down the spears ever so slowly. And now the knights getting in their charge. Going to be going back in again. Perfect micro out of ZertoN here.
Yeah, those spearmen just look like they only get like 1 or 2 maybe pot shots on it. But again, when you're up against Royal Knights, it doesn't really matter too much because they're going to end up healing just a little bit. These knights that are here for ZertoN is basically just being that front line. Only having 4 of them and having the perfect micro means those archers behind can just make so much damage. They can take out all the spearmen, and the spearmen are getting a little bit too cheeky. They're coming out all the way in front. You're seeing a lot of dead spearmen corpses.
Yeah, this is a great fight for ZertoN here. We see he's way ahead in army value now. And there's only a couple of spears left, and they're currently fighting the archers. Only 3 knights are left for ZertoN though, but it's going to be enough to tank a lot of the damage here from the archers. And again, we don't have any meta here. No movement speed. No attack speed even.
No, and I mean, obviously when you take the music out of the Ottomans. They become just that little bit. It's almost like uncultured archers. They don't have that little bit of art value behind them to help them out, and especially against those couple Royal Knights, you can see how many archer value, or how many archer volleys, I should say, it takes to get some of these Royal Knights down. It was 2 volleys by all of those archers. That Royal Knight still at half health and going to continue to get a good charge off.
Yeah, exactly. We do finally have a meta on the way for SortOf here. But we just see the amount of damage ZertoN's being able to put on now. And you got to remember, ZertoN is still playing as the French. Despite being on 1 TC, his villager count is still going to slowly creep ahead. And he's picking up a couple more workers here as well. So he's really starting to take that lead once again.
Yeah, this is a typical French versus Ottoman kind of thing. We're sitting here in the feudal age with archer ball against archer ball, sometimes a meta, sometimes not a meta. But these are my favorite games, Merlin, when we just sit this late feudal age. And now ZertoN, he saw the ramps from SortOf. He's like, you know what? I could do that too, my friend. I have siege engineering. Another ram coming in trying to take down this forward production. I love it.
The meta could make the difference here. Range defense drums are in. We see ZertoN trying to focus down that meta, but we can see here the archer mass just not doing as much damage because of this this meta. ZertoN trying to get up that ram. More and more knights are coming through. I think ZertoN's really up to the production here of knights as we see triple stable is down for him. More spears coming out from SortOf. ZertoN trying to just target down these spears as quickly as possible. Going to be cancelling the ram there. It looks like ZertoN just trying to get off some more. Right, this could be pretty bad. We got 11 villagers over here. Only 5 of them going to be able to fit inside that outpost.
Yeah, for how small that outpost is, you would think you would build maybe 1 or 2 over there. But this is another thing that the Ottomans like to do, like the French. They go outside for some of those Gaia food resources. Knight try to get another charge in, going to back up. Try to get some of those outside Gaia food resources in French. Obviously, they're going to be really good at raiding. So if they're able to really hanker down, get a couple vills on these outside food resources, it could mean the world for the French player.
Poor wolf there, getting taken out. Wolves everywhere on the map, actually, at the moment. It looks like...
This is a very hostile environment.
Yeah. Surprisingly, ZertoN hasn't looked to take out any of the boars. Both boars are still alive. Obviously, the Ottomans can't take it, but ZertoN not looking to make use of that boar quite yet. May look to take it later on, but we do see players are absolutely everywhere on the map making use of those food sources. And now ZertoN. Have a look at his macro. He's looking to go towards the Castle Age now. I feel like when you got a mass of 13 Royal Knights, I think that's enough to go up with the Royal Institute. I think the Royal Institute could definitely be the way here.
Yeah, if he's able to keep these knights alive, Merlin, it looks like there's going to be another fight going on.
Spy numbers not too big here for SortOf. And spear numbers looking relatively low as well, as we do have an outpost coming up on the back line as well. Gonna be able to help out ever so slightly here. Metas on the front line here. If ZertoN can pick those off, maybe that can change the battle a little bit. But ZertoN just gonna be retreating back. Definitely a smart move here. You don't want to be, you don't really want to be fighting when you're, you know, this close towards an age up. But it seems like ZertoN's struggling a little bit when it comes to his resource cost. But could this be a little bit early coming through from ZertoN here? Because SortOf's got a huge mass here. We see he's ahead by around 1,000 in army value. And ZertoN at the moment is just floating so many resources. He's going to be able to get a nice charge in there with the knights. Some raids coming through. Spears. Going to have to take out some workers here. Looks like the workers just going to be looking to take out the spears themselves. So we see, oh, that's a feels bad right there for ZertoN. The mill going to be cancelling that one out, but looks like he will be losing some workers.
And honestly, Merlin, I kind of agree with you as we see a ram coming in for SortOf. He's going to do his little all-in strategy one more time. I kind of agree with you because ZertoN, I mean, obviously he's macroing for Castle Age. You see the Royal Institute just went down. We can see the blueprint. There it is right there. I think for him, it almost feels like that's a death sentence. You know, I mean, SortOf has a massive military right now. There's 86. You spent 1,800 resources going up to Castle. It's going to take a while for those upgrades to actually get in. Once SortOf gets the notification on his screen that ZertoN went to Castle Age, I have a feeling you're going to see that entire army start to march toward that French province.
Yeah, exactly. Like we see SortOf at the moment up to 61 archers, 21 spears. He's making a couple more spy here and there as well. Also, you know, he's got 3 metas here as well, so he's going to be able to dive underneath the base of ZertoN here. This could be terrible for ZertoN. You know, he's about to age up, and that is, as you say, exactly when SortOf is going to look to push into the base. You see another 2 rams going to be coming through. There it is. The age up comes through. No reaction from SortOf yet. ZertoN, he's got his upgrades coming through. We see there Veterancy Knights, Royal Bloodlines, as well as Veterancy Archers. SortOf, he's got 3 rams up. That should be enough for him.
That's exactly what he did. He's ready to ship it, Merlin. First target, probably that outpost. Gonna end up taken down. But again, we're seeing those upgrades up on the upper right-hand part of the screen. Royal Bloodlines takes a little bit longer than you might think it is. Yes, those knights are veteran status. We just saw that click up. But Royal Bloodlines, it takes a while to actually cultivate those horses to get the bloodlines. It takes about 1 minute 45 seconds if I remember correctly. So these are not going to be the pseudo Imperial knights that we want to see out of the French player. SortOf knows that, and that's why he's pushing.
I've got to say though, ZertoN, he's looking in not a terrible position right now. Like, these knights are super tanky. I feel like he could wait a little bit longer for these archer upgrades, but they're about to come through. Metas are finally back here for SortOf. And now we see ZertoN, he's very happy to take this fight. We got Springald placement through on the outpost as well. I think this is just going to be a wipe here for ZertoN. I think he's going to be able to hold this fine.
That's a bold prediction. These veteran archers, though, having that veteran status, could be able to take down those spearmen really quickly. You're seeing gunpowder for the Ottomans and Feudal Age. He hit that panic button, getting those Janissaries out because of the Vizier point. So we'll do a good job at taking down some of these Castle Age Knights. Could be his saving grace, but make sure, ZertoN, if you have that big archer mass, got to target those Jans. Make sure they're not getting too many shots off.
Yeah, ZertoN, I feel like he's played this one perfectly. We see he targets down the metas. Now, you know, army value looking relatively even here for players. No spears left for SortOf. And this meta will get focused down soon by the archers. And then what does SortOf have behind this? He's still far behind when it comes to the economy. And he's an age up above, you know, ZertoN's an age up above SortOf.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That meta going down just gets picked off perfectly. Now the only thing we have are uncultured archers going up against veteran Royal Knights who now have Royal Bloodlines. You hit the nail on the head, Merlin. The hold was beautiful.
Really, really was a great hold out of ZertoN here. He's just going to be able to fall back as well. You know, he's very happy to just play in the base at the moment. He knows he's ahead. You know, he can heal up these knights again with Chivalry. I'm sure he'll be looking to pick up some relics as well. And workers for ZertoN will get picked off. And
I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be a whole lot of damage. Knight's going to come in to save the day there. And we just see here, ZertoN, he can easily hold this. SortOf, he's trying his best. He knows this is his last sort of hope. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to try and age up behind this. As we see him, he's just rallying stuff across the map right now. He understands how important it is to try and end the game now because he's not going to be able to hold on much longer otherwise.
Yeah, you can see, I think the big tail of the tape. Oh,
and
GG
there it is.
Just got called.
Yeah, there it is. He understands he's not going to be able to age up behind this. ZertoN was able to hold, so took the game. And now ZertoN is 1 up in this best of 3.
Yeah, this was quite the interesting one. Just to do, I'm glad you pulled the villager count up. Just to do a little bit of post game analysis. But for the French, just because of adding that second TC, it's almost like you're passive aggressively pushing the initiative. You know, you're not necessarily, I mean, he did a little bit of map control with his 2 knights, so he's able to get that second town center a little bit up, but it forced SortOf to go for that all in. You could see on the military count how many soldiers that SortOf really had in his Ottoman Empire. It forced him to press the issue. ZertoN was able to hold with the little bit of units that he had. As you can see from a lot of these peaks and valleys here, SortOf had higher military count in a lot of these battles. It just didn't seem to do enough in terms of damage. It let ZertoN get up to castle, and then once you get those castle age units, SortOf didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, we can see here the mass is SortOf, you know, up here over 100, and then it goes all the way down to, what's that, around like 35 sort of numbers, whereas for ZertoN here, he lost barely any. And that's just those Castle Age upgrades coming in. Maybe if this push came through, a minute earlier from SortOf, things may have been different. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
No, I mean, you got to think about those archers, those Feudal Age archers, whether you have the power of music behind you or otherwise, against veteran Royal Knights that have 310 health with Royal Bloodlines, and especially being able to get some of the Castle Age upgrades out of your blacksmith. Those archers, they're shooting BB guns at those knights. They're not going to be doing much of anything. So just having like 4 or 5 of them, he just tanked them.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to remember the French as well. Upon the age up, they get through the +1 attack from the blacksmith for free, just instantly like that. That also helps out those knights just, able to chew through those archers.
Yeah, bonus damage or otherwise, but we're gonna see if SortOf can pull his way back into a game 2. Remember, just because these are best of 3s, it's match point for ZertoN if he's able to take this from SortOf. I'm really curious what they're going to choose in terms of maps and in terms of Civ for game 2 on Dry Arabia. Really open map. We know that there's a couple Civs that either of these players could choose to get some kind of advantage. Now we're not going to be able to see, I'm pretty sure because ZertoN won his French, he's not able to pick it again, correct?
Yeah, I believe they're not allowed to pick the same Civ twice, so we're not going to be seeing French or Ottoman from either of these two players again. So now having a look at the maps here, they're all very much open. And there we go, Holy Roman Empire versus the Abbasid on Dry Arabia. What are your thoughts on this matchup here? ZertoN playing as the Holy Roman Empire looks pretty scary.
Yeah, it's, I think this has had a pretty complex matchup as we went through Age of Empires history since its inception. I feel like for the Abbasid dynasty, it's definitely different, especially with the initiation of season 4 and all wings became somewhat viable. For these guys, it's not necessarily, and usually when I cast the Abbasid, I say the same thing. It's not necessarily drag your face across the keyboard and pick economic wing anymore. There's different things you could do. Maybe he wants to go military wing, gets a boot camp early, take it to the HRE and feudal. Maybe. Maybe he wants to wait until that late game, that Imperial Age where Abbasid just spams those trash units in your face and there's nothing you could do about it. But the HRE, they do such a good job at getting up to castle as long as they survive the feudal. For the Abbasid, it's more so surviving feudal too. These are two civs that's like, hey, why don't you leave me alone? I'm going to do the things I want to do in feudal. We'll meet you in Castle Age, maybe Imperial Age, something like that. It's like one of those custom games where it's like 20 minutes, no rush,
Yeah, exactly. I love the fact you didn't mention Trade Wing whatsoever.
Yeah, I chose not to. Astute observation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to get too much into theory crafting, but for the Abbasid, like, for trade, if I want to trade, I'm just going to play Mongols, right? And I think that's why Chamber of Commerce isn't that great either. If I want to trade, I'm just going to play Mongols.
Yeah. Mongols really is the trading powerhouse right there. But I really think there is some more builds with trade. I mean, like with the Ottomans, the Sultani trade network build, it's something I've been seeing a lot. Like, players have been really starting to use that landmark now. But I guess it's not necessarily for trading. It's more of just like, a passive gold income. So whether you want to count that as a trade landmark or not, I guess that's up to you. But I think we should take a quick look at the league table. I want to see where both of these players are currently sitting. So, yeah, ZertoN, he's sitting pretty low to the bottom there. He's currently at rank 15. So, being up a game already is got to be pretty nice for him. Sort of at rank number 10. So, he's quite a bit higher up there. So ZertoN's got to be feeling pretty happy about the start to this series here.
Yeah, I mean, for both of these players, even ZertoN included, even though he's at 15 rank, again, all of these players still have a potential of stringing across, maybe getting a few wins here and there, might compete for that 8th spot, sort of obviously in that potential to do it. Now that he's at a 1-0 deficit, getting 2 quick wins against ZertoN, as you can see right now, I don't think it's updated, so or is it updated with the 6 and 9?
No.
Was he 6 and 8 before?
I believe this is not updated.
Okay. So if SortOf gets a couple wins here, he's going to be up to 8 and 10. Maybe B goes 0 and 2. Puppy Paw maybe struggles in his series. All of a sudden, SortOf's within striking range of that 8 spot.
Yeah, and that's it, right? I mean, you just have to get to the top 8. You know, obviously you want to get as high as you possibly can, but once you're through to the top 8, you make it through to the playoffs, and that's when things start to get really serious for this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, this tournament and just the format of it, especially just as we're looking at this league table, how many games are played throughout the couple weeks that we're doing the round robin stage with everybody playing everybody? It's almost like a refined, better ladder. That's so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really cool how every player is going to play everyone. I think it's something that's really, really cool because, you know, we're used to seeing, you know, in beginning of tournaments, usually it tends to be, you know, pro players up against some average Joe, right? In the first few rounds. That tends to be how it goes. But with this tournament, we're seeing pros up against pros every single game pretty much.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, even from 1 seed down to 16, I've seen these players across multiple different EGC tournaments. Obviously, we've talked about seeing the ones that we saw at Red Bull Wololo, all the way back to Nilly's Apartment Cup. Like, these guys have been around the AoE top talent for just about over a year now. Can you believe, as of right now, I think AoE is probably about a year and a half old. Time really flies when you're having fun, huh?
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. A year and a half old. Wow. Yeah, I mean, we've seen so many players rise to the top, right? I mean, you know, we got some pretty new faces in here as well, like Numadon. You know, people weren't expecting Numadon to be in the top 16, but he made it here. You know, who else? Louis. Louis, he's relatively new. You know, it's the last 6 months or so he's really started to climb up the ladder. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where those sort of players will end up.
And honestly, there's a lot of players, not just part of this top 16, that didn't make it that are still really good.
Yeah.
You know, like there's such a potent, I would say such a potent top 50 worth of players on AoE 4, and that's why I'm really glad EGC is going ahead with the Silver League for the players that didn't necessarily make the Elite Classic, getting an opportunity to not only win just a little bit of cash, you know, but making sure that they have this kind of experience too. So then when we have a big 1v1 tournament that comes around, not only do they get the experience, they can knock some of these guys out.
Yeah. And that's it, right? So Silver League is going on for those wondering. It's not exactly sure where you can catch. I'd recommend joining the EGC TV Discord. All the information is in there where you can find those games. So do check out the EGC Discord. But we're about ready to hop into game number 2 here.
Ooh, can I do the certain introduction? Usually I don't ask, but I have a special one for HRE. Starting in the color green, playing as the Holy Roman Empire, using that prelate, spreading the word of their Lord Jesus Christ to all of those villagers. It is ZertoN. Merlin, who do we have him playing against?
ZertoN today is going to be playing against SortOf here, spawning in on the north side of the map. Unfortunately, I don't have quite a special opening for SortOf, but he's going to be playing as the Absid Dynasty here in the color red. And hasn't moved out for the berries quite yet. Not going to be looking to make use of those, it seems. Just going to be going for the house into the mining camp. It's kind of interesting that we've seen Absid players look to not make use of the berry bushes anymore.
Yeah, it is a little bit interesting, isn't it? I'm not really sure as to, just because the Absid isn't something that I play a lot of, I'm not really sure. Do you know why there was that transition, that change from going with that mill to the berry bush, other than just, you know, cheaper, closer?
I think it's just down to the 50 wood, honestly. It's like you're having to then, you know, chop for a lumber camp. But I don't know. It seems a little bit odd, right? It makes sense for the deli to go for the mill, because then they can start to research up wheelbarrow. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I should really ask some pros about this, because I still go out for the berry bushes when I play the Abbasid, but maybe that's a bit of an oversight from me. But sort of going to be dropping down his House of Wisdom now in the back of the base here. We're going to have to see what he
and I
looks
think
to...
now that we are looking at their Dark Ages, kind of matriculate to Feudal Age, can we take a look at the HRE spawn? Because obviously the Aachen Chapel is going to be coming down in a couple minutes. Let's take a look at where not only he wants to put the Aachen Chapel, but what he's going to do with it. And it looks like that Aachen Chapel going a little bit on the east side, so it's going to be used on the wood line, going to be used on the sheep and the berries. I'm kind of wondering what he's going to do with this Aachen. Usually if you see an Aachen placement, you can think, well, okay, he's going to go with the second town center because it's getting the stone, or he's going to go fast castle because it's getting the gold and the berries and all of that kind of stuff. This one, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because if you wanted to go for a second TC, you'd have a perfect Aachen Chapel up here. You know, it provides the same, pretty much the same as this Aachen Chapel here, apart from the berries. You know, you get the wood, you still got your TC under there with the sheep, and you get the stone. And ZertoN is going to be moving out here for the stone. So this is a really curious Aachen Chapel position, because he's not going to be able to get these in the radius. Maybe he's looking to train up another prelate, possibly. But yeah, that's a really interesting position right there. Maybe he just doesn't want the Aachen Chapel on the front line. Maybe that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, if he did put it in the front, it could definitely be disrupted, especially with the sort of not only going for Feudal Age at an appropriate time as the Abbasid dynasty, but attempting or choosing to go with the military wing. So he's going to start to harass the Holy Roman Empire as soon as he gets to Feudal Age. And usually what I say about the HRE, if you're letting HRE do HRE things, you're probably going to lose the game.
Yeah, and that's it, right? So military wing is going to be coming through here for SortOf, and he may, you know, he may look to try and condense ZertoN's second TC into the base a little bit more. Maybe ZertoN was thinking, you know, oh, maybe I can go for a TC here. Look at this, double deer patch. But SortOf, he's going to have through his 2 spears and 2 archers very, very soon. And he can look to try and, you know, shut down any TCs being expanded out upon too far.
Yeah, if I'm an HRE player, I'm licking my chops on the east side with those 2 berry patch, or there's a berry patch, and then there's 2 deer. There's also a wood line right there. There's a little bit of stone that could help you out too. It's a really good TC spot, and it looks like ZertoN, he does know that the military wing is there for some of you low elo players. Obviously the wings come in all shapes and sizes, but they are treated equal when we're going into Feudal Age. He sees the military wing, so he's actually going to go with an HRE archery range, not something I thought I was going to say in the first hour of the stream.
Yeah, and this is exactly what SortOf wants, though, right? Because if you think about it, ZertoN's just had to invest 150 wood into an archery range. He's now spent 120 wood on a couple more archers, and this TC is being really, really delayed right now. You know, if he didn't invest all that wood, he could almost drop down that TC. So, you know, SortOf's got to be feeling pretty happy about that already, as we see his army is going to be coming through. We're going to have to see where ZertoN does look to drop down his TC. Maybe he's thinking about placing it here. Maybe that's the idea of the Aachen Chapel. So your second TC is next to it, sort of thing. But SortOf, you know, he's going to be making his way around here. Maybe able to put a little bit of harassment onto these villagers here. As we have 3 archers now out for ZertoN. Going to be enough here to deal with this little army, as long as you have the correct micro.
And I think one really important thing is you see ZertoN moving his wood line a little bit more north, so it's safe, and those archers on the eastern side going to be able to take some shots in. ZertoN has 346 stone. If I remember correctly, you need another 4 to get there.
No. There we go. He's going to be sending one out now, but
okay.
He's going to be losing 13 wood. I always feel... It always feels bad when this happens. Just 13 wood just gone like that. I never like it. I never like it. But there we do. There we see. He has enough stone now. So we're going to be dropping down that TC on the deer patch here. So unfortunately for SortOf, his army, you know, it's kind of dead on the back line, but he's got 1 horseman coming in now.
Yeah, and just that 1 horseman is going to cause those villagers to get quite upset and pull their ships out. But now some reinforcements out of the flank of the south, and he deletes the town center, Merlin. This
is exactly what SortOf wants. You know, this is perfect. This is exactly what SortOf was looking for going up with the military wing. And now ZertoN, where's he going to be putting his TC? Is it just going to be in the base here? Because if that is so, that's going to be really, really bad for him. He's dropping down a barracks now, so maybe he looks to get out just a couple spears, a couple more archers, and then looks to drop the TC in the same sort of position. Could definitely be the case here. But sort of, you know, he's massing up still. He's up to 4 horsemen right now. His second TC is going to be coming down before the Holy Roman Empires. And he went military wing with a ton of army. Like, this is perfect here for sort of.
And you're seeing the importance of the military wing in here. You know, when the military wing actually went down, getting those 2 spears and 2 archers, I know for a lot of people when the military wing got changed, there was a big to-do about, oh, it's only 2 spearmen, 2 archers, who cares? But it's the tempo swing that he got from this, the huge delay to ZertoN's economy. This town center now with a spearman and a couple archers, I think has the potential of going up a little bit safer than previously, though.
I mean, we don't have that many spears here from ZertoN. We've only got the 2, and they're not upgraded to the hardened upgrade yet. These horsemen, if they can get a nice jump onto these spears, I think they should be able to take them out. We've also got a couple of spears here from SortOf, also which have not been upgraded, but we see finally some more units coming through here for ZertoN. And it does look like the TC will be getting up here, but still, you know, great delay here on the TC.
Oh yeah, we're at about 8 minutes into the game, and that second town center first going down. One thing to look at, especially based on SortOf's macro, in very Abbasid fashion, he's not stopping at 2. That second town center was on the stone just to make sure that it was supported by some kind of defensive structure. Now he's going to venture out to that third one. You see those villagers matriculating west, so there's a nice little deer patch there. He also has a double deer pack spawn. So if he's interested in putting a town center there, trying to get all that deer, really help him with the food supply.
Have a look at this, though. He's still rallied out here onto the stone. I'm not sure if this is just like, you know, not paying attention. But he might be going for a 4th TC. No, there we go. Okay, gonna be moving away. I was getting my hopes up there that we'd see a 4th TC. But yeah, 3's definitely gonna be enough here. You're already ahead when it comes to villagers. So, you know, he's feeling very happy at the moment. And he's gonna be able to pick up a villager here as well. Looks like it was able to get away. One more hit would have taken that one out.
Ooh, ZertoN sent it back over to the gold mine for just a second and then pulled it out. Again, just because of those religious units of the Holy Roman Empire, you're going to be able to heal that villager up when you have the ability to. But now ZertoN's trying to take it to the Abbasid dynasty. Look at this raid on the woodline, Merlin.
Yeah, nice little pick off there from ZertoN. And we see SortOf going to be responding with an archery range. Maybe we just see mass archers here from SortOf now. You know, archers plus horsemen definitely could be the way to go. I doubt we'll be seeing a castle age coming through from SortOf soon. ZertoN, he might have other ideas though, but we do see it for the time being. He's looking to pump out quite a few of these men-at-arms. Double barracks is down for him. Looks like he's just wanting to keep up the pressure for the time being.
And the great thing for SortOf in the Abbasid dynasty, especially because those foodstuffs do happen to be fresh, they probably have some kind of a refrigeration device. It just means that those villagers are a little bit cheaper. So he's going to be able, even though he's on 3 town centers, he's going to be able to pump out the units to hopefully get a hold. If you're ZertoN, you're probably looking at that 3rd town center if you do see it, and that might be your plan of attack going forward.
Yeah, so at the moment, SortOf, he's paying the same amount as ZertoN is, right? Because it's, what, 32? 32? Yeah, 32 would be 96. So, in fact, you're actually still paying less for villagers, you know, per minute than ZertoN, despite being on an extra TC. So, that's going to be really nice for him. But ZertoN, he's got quite a mass now. Doesn't have any blacksmith upgrades in. In fact, neither of them do. But it does look like a couple villagers may get picked off here. Not a huge mass here for SortOf. He's got a few archers in here, but obviously men-at-arms going to be quite tanky up against archers. Horsemen going to be able to get a little wraparound on. And it looks like ZertoN going to be falling back now.
Yeah, I really like SortOf's horseman flank, kind of get those archers to move back. And the men-at-arms, this is something that the Abbasid dynasty struggles to deal with in Feudal Age. The only thing that they can really make to really help against those men-at-arms that have a good DPS are those camel archers. But if you take a look at the camel archers and how much resources they actually are. It's 180 food and 60 wood. SortOf's trying to pump out of 3 town centers right now. It's not necessarily in the cards in terms of his food economy to get a lot of those camel archers to make an impact. So those men-at-arms are going to start raining terror.
Yeah, and that's it, right? And ZertoN also has a decent mass of archers here. So camel archers, you know, they will still get taken out by this massive archers. So it's something you got to be really careful about. And I actually find it really funny here. Have a look at this. We've got Iron Undermesh and Steeled Arrow coming in from players here. Coming in at exactly the same time. So both of these players, you know, they know what they're doing here. Have a look at that. Coming in at the exact same time.
Oh, I love it. Now I'm curious to see if SortOf actually gets Iron Undermesh himself. Because ZertoN is getting Steeled Arrow. So he's got a couple seconds to figure it out.
I gotta say, though, ZertoN's been doing a good job. You know, he's taken out quite a few workers. You can see it here. He's taken out 3. So, you know, just going to be keeping SortOf as close as possible as he can to his own villager count. SortOf going to be picking off some reinforcements here. A couple archers going to get taken out. And it's really these men-at-arms that he's struggling with here.
Yeah, you can see that group of horsemen just ignoring them. I mean, obviously, the men-at-arms are rather slower. They are heavy units, so they have, if I remember correctly, it's 1.12 tiles per second. So those horsemen, as you can see, they're going to be just running around those men-at-arms, take a couple hits, not that big of a deal, but big battle coming out here.
Now we see huge archer mass here, though, for SortOf. We see he's not able to even close to one-shot these men-at-arms. I think it's about a 3-shot, but horsemen going to be coming in here, going to be engaging onto the archers. SortOf's archers are doing a decent job, though. I mean, obviously, they've got a much better movement speed, so they're going to be able to do some nice kiting here. And as long as the archer mass gets taken out of ZertoN, SortOf's going to be, you know, he's going to be happy just kiting back with these men-at-arms.
Yeah, you can see the archers and how many volleys it takes to take out those men-at-arms. It's just so frustrating. ZertoN has 5 queued right now, 10 total. SortOf, he's still trying to get to this front wood line. This has been the most harassed territory in the Abbasid dynasty. MrMerlin, I think he's got to get out of there.
Yeah, this is just a danger zone right here. So I think he hasn't learned his lesson yet. Just going to be sending them right back to the wood line. I mean, he's got one over here he could always make use of, but looks like he's wanting to finish this one up first. But he's going to be moving out now. Quite a big archer mass. We see it's up to 30. But in saying that, ZertoN, he's still pumping out archers as well. He's up to 20, and he's got the early men-at-arms in there as well.
Yeah, you could see just while these little skirmishes are coming up, you could see how important the economic value is in having as many town centers as they do for each one of these players. I mean, SortOf with 3 town centers obviously has a couple more villagers, but you got to remember for the HRE, most of these villagers are inspired, so they work a little bit better than the average villager, 40% better to be quite exact. So as far as when you're looking at the economy out of both players, it's actually really even. This game, both in a militaristic aspect and an economical aspect, continues to be quite even. You can see a little bit of farm transition coming in from ZertoN, and now you're getting to the point, that quote-unquote late-game economy for the HRE, that just makes it pretty difficult to raid.
Looks like SortOf, he just keeps losing a villager here or there. We see he lost 2 over there. That's just a wolf, but, you know, ZertoN, he's done a pretty decent job. I mean, 6 villagers at this stage of the game. It's not bad, right? And we see his army value is still much higher than SortOf's. But SortOf, he's still got a decent mass. I'm not exactly sure where all of SortOf's army is. I think here's some of it. Going to be looking to take out the villagers on the woodline once again. This has just been a death pit here for SortOf. He lost so many poor villagers on that woodline.
Yeah, those wood villagers are basically just chopping through so they can make way for their graves, and it looks like 3 or 4 end up going down. But look at, just because of the men-at-arms, there are enough here. The archers are starting to get distracted. It means those archers all the way in the back are going to be able to kind of narrow down some of this archer mass that we have here. And as soon as those men-at-arms come down, they just start backing up just a little bit. So this military count, we're getting in a little bit of a stalemate here.
Yeah, for sure. But, I mean, we do see SortOf is still ever so slightly ahead when it comes to the economy. But have a look at this out of ZertoN. I think this is super smart. I mean, apart from that, the TCs here. Because have a look at this. The Ark and Chapel radius here is just in range of this lumber camp. So, you know, if this TC wasn't here, he would still be getting that influence. But, you know, I guess that doesn't really count now as they're going to be dropping off at the TC. But yeah, ZertoN, his economy is certainly still in a great spot because of the Ark and Chapel there, giving the plus 40%. So he's still in a decent spot. We see army values relatively even. And ZertoN here, we have a look at his macro here. Looks like he may be going towards the Castle Age.
Yeah, and I think it's just because look how much food per minute he's getting. I mean, he could either go one of two routes. He could try to get some more production buildings, try to take it to him in Feudal, or take it to him in Castle where those men-at-arms get a little bit more meat on their bones and a little bit more armor. But Merlin, these 4 or 5 horsemen, they're taking down a decent amount of archers, really getting their money's worth.
They really are. This is great value here out of SortOf. But at the same point, the men-at-arms, you know, they're also taking out quite a few archers here.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of back and forth that we're continuing to see. You know, military has been hovering in the 30s, sort of looks like doesn't want to go towards Castle Age. You can see on the eastern part of your screen, he's adding more production buildings, more archery ranges going down. He's just trying to beat his head against the wall, hoping it cracks.
See, SortOf. Looks like he's going to be able to push away ZertoN once again. I mean, both players now have very equal macro, so I think they're both going to be looking towards that Castle Age soon. I'm not exactly sure what wing we're going to see out of SortOf. Probably a culture wing, maybe an economy wing, but I think it'll be culture. And then for ZertoN, I'm not sure what we're going to be seeing. Do you think no, it won't be Burgrave. We've got so many barracks already down. It's going to be Regnans, right? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, he's doing okay in terms of map control. I mean, if you notice, a lot of this fighting is in Abbasid territory for the most part. So there's 4 relics available for ZertoN, and we're probably going to see some army composition change, definitely out of SortOf. You can see he actually went with the economic wing this time around, so he will get his crescents to be fertile, and will be able to help produce, if he wants to go for a farm transition, a little bit cheaper for him.
He's actually started adding in a couple camel archers now, which they're definitely going to help up against these men-at-arms. And I would assume we're going to be seeing some crossbow out of him, probably some lancers, maybe some more camels. Definitely could be an answer for him. For ZertoN, on the other side, though, he's about to have the age up through. He's up to 3 prelates. So yeah, he should be able to pick up 3 of these pretty instantaneously. And this one's going to be a little bit trickier, but I think ZertoN is going to be able to pick up 4 relics here, which could be huge for him. You know, that's a real game changer. 4 relics for the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about the HRE, kind of in a nutshell. It seems a little bit more RNG dependent. I mean, you're talking about the spawns that we talked about in Dark Age. You're talking about where the relics are going to go. Also, so exactly, getting that little bit of map control in Feudal, and his economy is stable. I mean, he's at about 90 villagers. Both of these guys are getting to that late game economy, and now it's certain with that map control and first to get to Castle Age, he's going to be first to those pivotal upgrades. You can see on the top left part of your screen, getting those men-at-arms and getting the second ranged armor upgrade, which is going to be very, very good for him in battle, because SortOf, as you can see from his queue, going to be transitioning away from archers, going into crossbows.
Exactly, mass crossbows going to be coming out from him, so it's to be expected, right? Holy Roman Empire, they're always looking to go into men-at-arms, even some lancers. But we'll have, in fact, we don't actually have a stable down from ZertoN. So it looks like he's just going to be going for the men-at-arm approach. As we do see, he's up to a decent number. He's up to 17, plus 2 ranged attack also coming through. SortOf on the other side, he's getting his veterancy through, as well as the plus 2 ranged attack. Let's see if ZertoN can actually put on some decent damage here before those upgrades come in.
Yeah, and I think it's not... the upgrades obviously are important. Some of these relics are getting harassed, sort of trying to do a couple horseman raids, but it's about making sure you're attacking to the point where that crossbowman mass, it's not a mass, it's a trickle. He's at 2 crossbowmen right now, so these men-at-arms are continuing to be as tanky as they were in Feudal Age. Now he has a mass. Merlin, look at this front line. They're just taking apart this archer mass. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of archers on the floor right there, but we do have some lancers coming through now for SortOf. It's actually continuing to just make archers here. So not deciding to make any more crossbowmen. Seems like he's starting to struggle a little bit when it comes to the food. Just pumping out the archers here. Also, stacked up a little bit of stone, so maybe, I mean, it's got to be a keep, but he stopped mining, so maybe just a TC?
I'm actually very happy that you mentioned the archer mass and the continuation of making archers, men at arms, are going to be able to keep that relic safe, but notice he's getting composite bows. He has the military wing. It means those archers are going to shoot a lot faster. They might be able to take men-at-arms, not necessarily as efficacious as a crossbowman would, but just having the amount of archers that he has and getting the composite bows means if there's any kind of range mass for a ZertoN, SortOf's going to have the advantage.
Yeah, and you got to remember, you've also got boot camp in here as well, so giving that plus 12 HP. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but it makes a difference, right? I think that's like one more hit from a men-at-arm. Yeah, it's 13 damage right there. Take away 1. So yeah, it's going to be an extra 1 hit there for the men-at-arm to have to put onto the villager, onto the archer, sorry. But look at this, ZertoN. He's going to be going straight to Imperial Age. Palace of Swabia are going to be coming up for him.
Yeah, talk about making a change, and obviously with ZertoN's economy, he's going to be able to do this. He has 3 relics in the cathedral, probably going to be able to plop them into outposts and all that kind of stuff. Eventually, that safe 4th relic's going to get easily picked up. So even though SortOf does have a little bit more villagers, ZertoN not only going to be able to keep that count kind of the same with Swabia, but those relics are that extra villagers that you don't need population supply for. And what does that mean? More army going to your opponent.
ZertoN trying to steal out that last relic, but yeah, ZertoN's looking in a great spot right here. We see four relics in the bank. We see cannon emplacement coming through on this outpost, and with a relic inside, this outpost is going to be absolutely crazy here up against an archer mass. ZertoN sort of trying to break through here, but I mean, ZertoN, he's looking in such a good position right now. Siege Workshop coming down. I think we're going to be seeing a mangonel out of him. You know, not a lot of anti-siege here for SortOf. Looks like he's continuous. He's got continuous production right now, so doesn't look like he's going for an Imperial Age behind this. Looks like he just wants to try and do as much eco damage as possible, but even if you do get some good eco damage through, the Palace of Swabia is here to just replace that.
Yeah, that's the thing too when HRE gets Imperial. Yeah, you're going to get a couple of villagers. It's more so about the idle time than necessarily killing the villagers, and a lot of idle time is what he's doing. The idle count is going up on the top part of your screen. Now he's at about 20. ZertoN doesn't have that big food stockpile like a post-game or a late-game HRE has, so his production, his military production, he does have some men-at-arms in queue, but it might end up getting stalled if he has enough archers and he has enough front mass to just sit on this Aachen Chapel, because the Aachen Chapel around those farms, the Prelate does have his megaphone in that chapel, in that 6-tower radius, but if there's no one to farm that wheat, doesn't matter how inspired you are.
I mean, ZertoN's food economy at the moment still... we can actually see there starting to trickle down. He still has a ton of villagers on there, though. We see he's got farms absolutely everywhere right now. Just, you know, that food economy just going to be able to pump out those men-at-arms. And the men-at-arms, you know, they've been upgraded to the elite now. We got the outpost in here, giving off great damage. And there we see a relatively easy hold here for ZertoN, as he's going to be able to return back to work now. Mangonel also out. And ZertoN, his food... Have a look at his gold. He's got 1,000 gold in the bank. And he's got no villagers on gold whatsoever. Just completely relying off of the relics. He's also grabbing some stone in the bank. I think he's going to be looking for a forward keep, possibly. Might need to take out SortOf's first.
Yeah, and I think with the Siege Workshop and the ability to have siege superiority, now that HRE is Imperial Age, you got to remember both of these guys do have access to culverins, and that basically decides the late game siege superiority. The difference is SortOf just being in Castle Age, starting to make trebuchets out of his siege workshop. He's gonna need springolds, but now that HRE, if they do have their economy stabilized, which it looks like they do, they're gonna have the siege advantage, and it ends up pushing the opposing army back. If you have the siege to take out all of these units, it just means they can't fight you head on, so they're gonna keep backing up. ZertoN could really gain a lot of map control if he takes down this keep.
Yeah, and there we do see a bombard is going to be on the way. SortOf, he's starting to make some trebuchets, as you say, but it feels rough. He's finally adding in some crossbows as well. I think he's learned his lesson with dealing with the Holy Roman Empire. You need crossbows. You can't be relying off archers here, so I like that he's starting to add in many more crossbows, also some lances in here. And he's looking to try and take down some of the outposts here for ZertoN. He's going to be aging up behind this as well with the Culture Wing. But going with the Culture Wing, I mean, I guess you have medical sensors, so you can heal up your units around your keep. But I felt like the Trade Wing could have been a way back into this for SortOf here. I mean, you got a good trade line, and we actually see a market has been placed next to this trade post. So maybe we do see some trade coming out from SortOf soon.
Merlin, you and the trade, it kills me. We're talking about trade. I really like the Culture Wing here because you could still get preservation and knowledge. Preservation and knowledge, obviously important for any dynasty. You got to write all that stuff down, and it means that those Imperial Age technologies that are usually 700 gold apiece, largely discounted. So Trade Wing could be something he potentially does if Abbasid goes for that mysterious 5th age and hits up with the Trade Wing. But Culture Wing, I think, is really going to give him the tempo now for SortOf to try to close this game, which it looks like that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, that does make sense. You're going to be able to get all of those university upgrades for a much cheaper price. But yeah, this feels bad right here. 2 trebuchets just going to get taken out like that. Bombard has made its way to the front line, going to be starting to take down that keep. And SortOf, for the time being, you know, his army isn't looking too great. He's only at 39. And I mean, he's got a decent number of lancers in here. Sacred sites are under contention right now for both players. But ZertoN, he's looking in such a good position right now, dropping down lots of production. University going to be going down for him, so probably looking to go into elite army tactics. You know, with his massive men-at-arms here.
Yeah, I mean, you got to stomp out that boot camp as much as you can, and now he's already prepared with the anti-siege. As you can see on your screen, he went ahead with the Culverin. Those Lancers from SortOf could help him in the raiding department. I mean, again, because ZertoN has those relics, it doesn't mean that he necessarily stops on gold completely. He still needs a little bit of gold. There are a lot of units that take a lot of gold, Culverins being one of them. You can see for the HRA, look how many villagers he has over here on the left side. He has a huge amount of gold per minute. He has it stabilized with the keep. The only difference for him now, from what I want to point your attention to, Merlin, on the top part of your screen, maybe a little bit of a quote-unquote overboom, 150 villagers.
That is a lot of villagers right there. And you got to remember, he's also got a lot of siege in here as well, taking up that population space. So he's not going to be able to get out a whole lot of army right here. And SortOf, he's got quite a mass here. We see he's got some decent crossbow numbers, but shot to the face from the Mangonel. Looks like the bombards are going to get taken out and possibly the Culverin. This could be really good value here for SortOf. He's going to take out everything.
And that's the big key of not having a front line, right? You only had those men-at-arms which are getting shredded by the crossbowmen. Might want to add something like spearmen to keep that siege safe. That was 3,000 resources that got reduced to firewood.
If anything, SortOf is doing ZertoN a favor here.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to predict that Zert probably still has villagers in the queue anyway, but taking out the most important villagers too. You know, taking out those Aachen farms for ZertoN to now he's at about, 2,500-ish food per minute could start to get reduced. When you talk about this late game now that both of these guys are in their Imperial ages, it's all about the stockpile that you have too. If you're dealing with raids, you got to make sure that you're able to withstand and keep your army production going, even though your villagers get idle for just a little bit of time. And it looks like SortOf doing a better job in that raiding department. I'm not seeing much for ZertoN. He's just kind of hanging out in his own base. He feels like he can't get out.
Yeah, SortOf is known for his raiding. I don't know if you caught many of the games he played last week, but he was just on point with the raids. He is an absolute raiding god, and we can see that here. He's just got lancers, trickled around the map. I'm sure he'll be looking to try and, I mean, have a look at this. He's got to keep sitting up here, just guarding some of the resources. He'll definitely be looking to make his way through to the left-hand side of the map here at some point as well. But ZertoN, he's looking to put the pressure on here with some men-at-arms. And SortOf, he doesn't have a lot here to defend. Has a couple lancers, but lancers, these guys are going to get absolutely cleaned up by heavy mace men-at-arms. Though we do have more reinforcements coming through for him though.
Yeah, I think taking that without any reinforcements, I kind of agree with you. Those heavy maces really pack a punch, especially those heavy armored units. But does end up getting cleaned up, and that's the thing about ZertoN's army composition right now. If you notice, none of them, men-at-arms, he's starting to add cannoneers and a little bit of crossbowmen too. None of them have horses. So it's going to be difficult to actually do some raiding just because his units are going to be pretty slow. SortOf's going to be able to react to it pretty quickly.
Looks like ZertoN's just sending raiding parties at the moment. Just bunches of men-at-arms around the base of SortOf. SortOf yet to get up any sort of walls. ZertoN on the other hand, he's got some palisade walls up. No stone walls have actually made their appearance this game yet. But SortOf, he's looking to really ump the pressure here. We see he's got 2 bombards, quite a few camel archers here as well. Needs to be careful of the 2 culverin though.
Yeah, I actually really like this army composition from SortOf. Those camel archers do have a lot of health, so they're able to maintain maybe a couple more hand cannoneer shots than in most other range maps, but Culverin's going to be able to, if they spot some of that siege in the back from SortOf, going to be able to pop up. And look at that, finally, ZertoN getting a raid over here on SortOf's gold mine, excuse me, is going to be able to make him back up a little bit. His army just got carved up a little bit in the middle of the map where that second sacred site is, so SortOf's even backing up too.
I'm wondering what the gold situation's looking like this game, because I think this is SortOf's last gold, and he's only got the 1 relic in the bank. The sacred site's about to get captured up. SortOf might be looking a little bit rough when it comes to the gold. Obviously, you know, the Abbasid are known for their trash army, but having no gold up against a Holy Roman Empire with 4 relics in the bank, and they still have a decent amount of gold left on the map, this could be looking rough for SortOf.
Merlin, I know what you want me to say, and I know you want me to say that he should start trading. And you know what? I'll say it. Okay, get some traders out. Start doing it. Make Merlin happy.
I think it could be the way here for SortOf, but... I mean, ZertoN, you know, he's been doing quite a few raids with the men-at-arms, so even if he does get up some decent trade, ZertoN definitely could look to, you know, shut down the trade pretty easily, especially as SortOf yet to get any walls up. Is he playing the no wall challenge here?
I love it. I love having, especially the Abbasid Dynasty too, where you want to sit in your base and you have your farm transition, all that kind of stuff. You would think walls are going to be very advantageous for him. I'm thinking when he starts trading, maybe he'll end up stonewalling some of those areas just to make the siege the priority for the HRE. But take a look at ZertoN continuing to push the initiative, has an outpost, has keep up for that vision, and also has a couple culverins behind those bombards. That front proxy base with a couple siege workshops and that keep, it's reduced to rubble. He's going to keep pushing up north here.
And have a look at the queue right now. He's got 9 hand cannoneers, 11 men-at-arms in the queue. Got plenty of army on the way here. Just sitting currently, waiting in the barracks. I'd love to see maybe a mangonel out of ZertoN here, just to try and get some area of effect damage onto these camel archers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that's really killing him, right? He can't get to those camel archers. He can't get to those crossbowmen. The lancers are doing just enough of a front for him. This siege, I'm kind of worried a little bit of an overextension from ZertoN, because this front line, those men-at-arms, even though they're tanky, they're all the way up in the front. We have no protection for these bombards. If SortOf wants to have a little bit of a lancer raid, he might be able to take those out, and when you have no siege, you have no push.
And now ZertoN, he's looking to really push the pressure now with a keep coming up on the front line here. And this is where you start to get into dangerous territory here for SortOf, right? The 2 landmarks, you know, if these get taken out, that's it, game over. And we're getting scarily close here. I mean, trebuchets could be set up on the back line here. That's going to be the TC gun. And then there's only a couple more tiles to that House of Wisdom. And now the hand cannoneer mass, you know, it's to a point where they can just easily clean up these camel archers. They just stand no chance up against a mass of 28. And this is just, you know, it shows the power of the Holy Roman Empire when they have gold control. 31 villagers still gathering up that gold. 4 relics, you know, trickling in that gold, as well as 2 sacred sites. You know, it's huge for ZertoN right now. He can just pump out these hand cannoneers and siege.
Yeah, I mean, at the cost of no population supply, with those 2 sacred sites and 4 regnants, relics. If I'm doing the math correctly, it's 840 gold per minute that he doesn't need to use population space for, and that's why you're seeing this military count getting so out of hand for ZertoN against SortOf. You're absolutely right about these hand cannoneer mass too. I mean, camel archers can do okay, but when you have this many, it's basically poaching season.
SortOf starting to run a little bit low on villagers now, because he's losing quite a few to these raids, and it's going to be enough to call GG. He realizes that, you know, gold's not looking too pretty for him. And he's just going to be calling GG, which means ZertoN is going to be taking this set 2-0. What a set.
Yeah, that result surprised me a little bit. I thought with ZertoN's delay in that second town center, it was going to give Abbasid a window. But if you take a look at this villager count, I mean, it's been pretty much the same throughout the duration of this game. And obviously, you could see with ZertoN going up in Age 4, you see Palace of Swabi, and then that nice little ascend to 150 villagers, which might have been a little too much, but ended up getting decreased just a little bit. That military count ended up stabilizing too. If we head to the military count graph, you could see now that ZertoN, when he lost a lot of those villagers, he was able to population supply himself out. Military count at the end being around 70, and they were high value units. They were hand cannoneers. There was a lot of siege involved that was super expensive, and you hit the nail on the head a little bit before the game actually got called. Having the gold and the resources to make those super important siege units. Like, take a look at that gold count. Not only, I mean, in Feudal Age, both of them were spending their resources the way they should, but ZertoN, he was pop capped, and he had a gold stockpile, which was going to help him out in the siege category, sort of having pretty much nothing. That last gold went dry.
Yeah, we can see there, ZertoN way ahead in the gold. Way ahead, well, not too far ahead in the food, but, you know, it's still ahead. So, yeah, his economy the whole game looking very, very strong right there. And as a result of that, he's going to be taking this set 2-0.